It out that we're going to get started with recording. All right, welcome to our Inclusive Learning Circle series, fostering synergy between UDL, AT, and AAC. Today's topic is going to be really diving into that UDL principle of engagement. We're going to dive into some specific strategies to increase engagement in your classroom. And if you follow the QR code or the tiny URL that's being dropped into the chat, it will have all the resources that we're going to be discussing today, contact information, and even some diving deeper information as well. I want to start by introducing the wonderful teacher who is on the call with us today. Katie Nesbitt is a fourth grade teacher at Colfax Elementary School. She has been teaching for 20 years, and she was honored to be named Napa's Teacher of the Year in 2023. Congratulations, that's awesome. She's primarily taught fourth grade, but she's dabbled in everything from second to sixth grade, and she's going to share some specific experiences she has today with an engagement strategy that we're going to be highlighting. We're going to talk a little bit about community circles, and she's going to share her experience. So we're so excited to have you, Katie. Thank you for being here. I'm Emily Desjardins, and I'm the UDL content lead with Open Access. For those of you who are new to Inclusive Learning Circles, welcome. We're so excited to have you here today. We want to share a little bit about who we are at Open Access. For any of you who have been to ILCs for a while, I know this is a repeat, so bear with us. But we do want to share that we are part of the statewide special education resource leads within the California statewide system of support. We're really grounded in the foundational belief that with access to quality instruction, all students can engage, actively participate, and learn within inclusive settings. What makes our project unique is that we highlight the importance of learning and participation for all through universal design for learning, assistive technology, and augmentative and alternative communication. We have a link to our one-page flyer with some more information about our project and what we focus on. That's linked on the home base document, and it's also on this slide as well. We have lots of great universal supports, and those are located on our website, which is also linked on this slide and in our home base document. We also have a wide range of offerings and updates that we share across social media, so please do follow us if you are not already. And our ultimate goal with this project is really to establish showcase sites across the state to really highlight these inclusive practices in action. And so we have some UDL showcase sites and some AAC showcase sites. And you can find out more information about visiting those showcase sites and where those are located, again, on our website as well. So before we begin, we just want to make sure you have all the resources you're going to need for today's session. We want to highlight our open access website, which again has lots of universal tools and resources that you are welcome to explore, share around with anybody. And then we also have our home base, which is our going to have all the resources for today's session, but also it's a rolling home base, so it's going to have lots of resources from all of our sessions, all of our inclusive learning circles as well. We also really encourage you guys to participate. Feel free to add anything into the chat, use your reaction buttons, participate in a way that works best for you today. So we also want to highlight that we are really committed to UDL principles and making our presentations as accessible as possible. And today we're really going to focus on those simple backgrounds with high contrast text. You guys have our access through our slide deck using the tiny URL and the QR code. We've got our alt texts for images, and then we're going to do our best to share some examples and non-examples as we go through this. And we really would love for you to participate in a way that works best for you. And there will be some opportunities for some reflection and conversation and collaboration. So for today's session, we're really hoping our plan is to really dive into that engagement strand of the UDL guidelines, really explore those principles, kind of understand that importance of engagement when it comes to learning and the neuroscience behind it. And then we're going to specifically focus on fostering belonging and community, some specific strategies to do that in your classroom. And then we're going to gain some fabulous insight from Katie Nesbitt's class and her experience with community circles. So thank you guys again for being here. This is a nice little visual of our journey, another way to see those learning objectives. So, as with all of our professional development webinars, all of our professional development, we always like to start with an inclusive welcome. This is not a practice we invented, not a term we invented at all. It is part of the Castle Signature Practice Playbook, which is the Collaborative for Social Emotional Learning. And research says that when our learners have time to really share their voice, their thoughts, their ideas, and connect with others before learning, they're so much more likely to feel engaged, motivated, and ready to participate. So in classrooms, an inclusive welcome can look similar to this, but it can also look totally different. It might be a brief question, a prompt for sharing an experience, a fun check-in, any activity that really invites every student to be included and connect to their learning or their community. And we'll provide some strategies for that later on. So today's inclusive welcome is going to be a little connection question, and then we're going to create a word cloud to share all of our answers together. So I'd love for you to take a moment and think a little bit of something you've recently learned that brought you joy. Maybe it was learning a new recipe, figuring out a new tech tool. Maybe it was something from a student or from your work environment. Maybe it was learning a new strategy for running. Maybe it was a new garden tool, whatever it is, something new that you recently learned. And think about what made that learning joyful for you. Once you've considered it, we're going to put a link in the chat to a Mentimeter, and it's going to help you make a word cloud. Another way to access this is the QR code on the screen should take you to that Mentimeter as well. And we'd also love to hear, please, in the chat, we'd love to hear who is here, maybe your name, your location, your role, anything that you want to share. We're always happy to get to know who's here. But go ahead and think a little bit about this question, and then I will pull up our word cloud. Ooh, love it. Success, dance move. Ooh, success is getting bigger. Love this. Partnering, accomplishment, overcoming struggles. And I believe it'll let you add up to 1 to 5 different phrases. So you're welcome to add as many phrases or words as you'd like. Ooh, success is just getting bigger. Interesting. Love it. It's exciting to like master something, right? Okay. Ooh, I love it. Innovation. Ooh, good one. Partnering. That's a new one. Love it. I'm gonna give it one more minute here. Oh, I saw that question. Good question. You shouldn't need to log in. It should just let you in. Okay, I'm gonna give it just one more minute here. Oh, we got more. Energy bubbles, reframing scripts. Love it. Collaborating. Oh, and I see people are adding to the chat too. Awesome. Thank you. Transition supports, music made it fun. Awesome. Oh, there's
Assistive technology specialist having assistive technology issues. It doesn't want me to log in.
more. Oh, I'm sorry. Tech affordance, energy bubbles. Thank you guys so much for participating in this. I appreciate it. If you are having tech issues like others, do feel free. Oh boy. Sorry about that. If you are having tech issues, feel free to just add in the chat as well. All right. Thank you guys so much for participating in that. So we're going to move on to diving into the engagement principle within Universal Design for Learning. So we know that in Universal Design for Learning, that the guidelines are very connected to the different networks within our brains. So the engagement principle is connected to that effective network, and we know that learners really differ in the ways in which they can be engaged or motivated to learn. And in reality, there's no one means of engagement that will be optimal for all learners in all contexts. However, we can really look to those guidelines to see what the neuroscience is about how humans do engage in their learning and what we need in order to engage when it comes to learning, right? So we're going to kind of dive into these three guidelines under the engagement principle and really break down what does this mean for our learners, right? And when we break down the guidelines within this first guideline, or we break down the considerations in this first guideline to design options for welcoming interests and identities. We know that learners really need access to clear goals in order to find that relevance, that value, that authenticity. They really need choice to help build that engagement and that learner agency. They need joy in learning. They need to have a safe and trusting environment. And then when we look at this next guideline to design options for sustaining effort and persistence, we can see there's a lot of research that says humans really need support to understand learning goals and discover that purpose and meaning. They need to have to be appropriately challenged and supported. I find this one to be one of the biggest, right? To have enough challenge to be really interested and engaged, but also supported enough to be able to meet the task. They need to be able to connect and collaborate with peers and to receive clear, actionable feedback. And finally, if we look at this third guideline, which is to design options for emotional capacity, we know that students really need practice with clear expectations and tools. They need to achieve, they need clear expectations and tools in order to achieve a task, right? They need time for reflection as a group and then also independently. And they need opportunities to learn about those coping skills, social skills, and time to really reflect on interactions as part of learning from our actions. And so we can break all of this down to look at, okay, what do our students need in order to truly engage with their learning? And the research really tells us they need to have those clear goals and understand the purpose of what they're doing. They need to have some choice in learning, to feel empowered to select their own route, their own path, right? They need that community connection. We need to really be fostering a safe and inclusive classroom environment for our learners in order for them to really be able to take risks and feel comfortable. And we know that our learners need support. They need tools to help them with their understanding. They absolutely need constructive feedback, right? Unless we're getting feedback, we don't know what we need to get better at or how we need to make changes in when it comes to our learning, right? And they absolutely need some reflection time. So our home-based document is going to have some resources for you to dive a little deeper into some of the other engagement strategies, but our focus today is really going to be highlighting one specific consideration, and we're going to be diving into this fostering belonging and community. And this is one that it's just there's so many reasons, so many fabulous reasons to be fostering belonging and community for our learners. But I really think of it as one of those bang for your buck considerations that when our learners really do feel safe and confident, they're so much more likely to be able to take risks and to make great connections in learning and to feel confident, and the ripple effect is huge, right? So there's really, really great research around this importance of fostering belonging and community for our learners. And what we know is that students who feel a sense of belonging are more likely to be motivated, engaged, and have higher academic success because they are more motivated, engaged, and less stressed. They are naturally going to retain more information. They're going to create stronger brain connections between material. They're going to experience less stress and anxiety, which has really been proven to free up cognitive resources that are being used towards learning. And ultimately, they're also going to engage in more positive behaviors. And I know right now that is a hot button topic in education when it comes to, behaviors across the board. That's the thing we hear a lot about, right? Is some negative behaviors. So what my greatest hope in highlighting this concept of fostering belonging and community is to really allow educators to be validated in this decision to spend time and energy on this. I think we are just at a time in education where things are very fast paced. We got to get through the standards, and I know that. But there is so much fabulous value in spending time on this. And so I hope everybody leaves feeling very validated with this. And I will say, I think a lot of times teachers really do a fabulous job at the beginning of the year, setting up their classroom so intentionally with so much belonging and community at the forefront. And so, again, my hope is that you feel validated in continuing that work all throughout the school year and just kind of making it part of routines and structures. So, we want to start by talking a little bit about some research from Dr. Eric Carter. He is a leading scholar who has spent a lot of time developing these 10 dimensions of belonging. And it's a powerful framework that is really focused on fostering true inclusion for individuals, with the focus of this whole research was on really developing an understanding of how students with disabilities experience a sense of belonging when they're in inclusion settings. Um, and although that was really the focus of this research, what he found as he dug deeper and deeper is that really this is the 10 dimensions that all humans really experience when they feel a sense of belonging. And these are the areas as humans, if we want to feel a true sense of belonging, this is kind of what we need, right? And so he is the executive director of the Baylor Center for Developmental Disabilities, and he spent a lot of time and energy researching this concept of belonging, and this was kind of what came out of it, right? And what he found was that in order for humans to really feel a sense of belonging, they need to be invited, welcomed, known, accepted, supported, heard, befriended, needed, and loved. So these dimensions really help us move from that surface level, understanding of, being near someone, engaging with them, but to be needed, to be befriended, to be truly known in a classroom community is kind of another level, right? So I really like this quote. Belonging isn't just a nice sentiment or a word on a Hallmark greeting. It's a need that's hardwired into human beings. Like neglecting the need for food or water, neglecting belonging is hazardous to our health, and in fact, it's lethal. So I want us to think about these dimensions of belonging for a minute. And I'm going to kind of go back and forth because I realize the dimensions aren't on this slide. I want you to consider a time when you truly felt a sense of belonging. And this doesn't have to be at work or at school. It could be a time with family, with friends, any time where you truly felt a sense of belonging. How did you engage with those around you? How did you feel in that situation? And what do you remember about that situation? And now I'm going to ask you to think about a time when you did not feel a sense of belonging. How did you engage with those around you? How did you feel in that situation? And what do you remember about that situation? And now I'm going to ask you to think about one of the students you work with, or multiple. You're welcome to think of multiple. Consider their sense of the belonging. And I'm going to move to that list again so you can see. But what dimension of belonging do they feel most days, perhaps? And how do they engage with adults and peers? Go back to that list here. Are they feeling, well, they're present, they're there. Are they invited? Are they welcomed? Are they known? Are they accepted? Are they supported? Are they heard? Are they befriended? Are they needed? And are they loved? And now I'm going to give us a little bit of a choice of how we want to engage. I am going to open up some breakout rooms. And so if you would like to have conversations in a group, you are welcome to enter a breakout room. If you are feeling like, wow, it's 3:30 on a Wednesday in November and my voice is not coming out of my mouth today, that is a-okay. And you are welcome to stay here with me, and you are welcome to engage in some, you can enter into the chats and we can stay here. So that is totally up to you. And if also, I'm going to add a third option. If you would rather just sit and reflect for a moment or journal, that's absolutely fine too. But I am going to open up some breakout sessions, and these are going to be, you get to choose yourself which one you go into. So go ahead and join a breakout room if you want to have a conversation about this. And I will put the belonging list into the chat so you guys can refer to that as well. Oh, I gotta open, sorry. I only half opened them. Breakout sessions are open. And if you would rather stay here, feel free to enter into the chat. And what I'm going to do is go back to our belonging wheel here. I do see people going into breakout sessions. Awesome. Oh, I see someone's already started in the chat. Open, comfortable, honest. Oh, how were you engaging? Engaging openly, comfortably, and honestly. And in a situation, the opposite, feeling guarded, uncomfortable, unseen. And I just want to acknowledge however you want to reflect, that works for me. And we're gonna do about 5 minutes in the breakout session. So if you want to enter in the chat, great. If you'd rather do your own reflection, that works for me as well. Mm. Lisa said, it's actually easier to remember a time when I did not belong. Hmm. I can understand that. Absolutely. Feel free to share more if you want to, but also no pressure. Oh, you're welcome. I'm all about the options, Rebecca. We got our own variability going on here too. Students feel known, heard, and supported. That's amazing. That's fantastic. I think that's such an important piece. I actually do want to, I think it's important to now acknowledge that nobody feels all 10 of these every single day, all day, every day, right? But through a combination of home and school, we need to feel all of them at some point, right? And so I think it is important to acknowledge that we might not feel all of these every single day, right? Pauline, thank you so much for sharing. Pauline says, as a neurodivergent person, I'm quieter and more of a fly on the wall the more accepted I am. Growing up, I was probably louder when not comfortable, class clown, or playing things tough to avoid feeling like an imposter. Thank you for sharing that. Ooh, Rebecca says she also has some vivid memories of not belonging. Janelle says her students feel welcomed, loved, and supported. That's amazing. That's great. Talia says, I felt comfortable and guards were down. I had very positive feelings about my environment, but when she was not feeling a sense of belonging, I felt anxiety and fear, invisible and not sure of myself. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. And I think oftentimes, are students that, oh, not oftentimes, always, right? Are students that um, have probably the most negative behavior are often not feeling some sort of a sense of belonging for a number of reasons. And that's not to say that it's necessarily any one particular person's fault at all, but just, let's see, Malia says, I felt seen and heard by others within the same space, and on the contrary, I felt excluded and not part of the in group in what I considered to be a negative experience from the belonging standpoint. Yes, thank you for sharing. I think you need more moments of belonging in comparison to not to make an impact. Oh, Lisa, I love that because I do think that's true, right? The more positive experiences we have that can kind of weigh out those negative experiences are going to shape our general identity and understanding of ourselves, right? Oh, I love that. Thank you for saying that. When I'm engaged, I feel like I can be myself and want to contribute. When I'm disengaged, I get physiological reactions like stomach aches, headaches, general dread. Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you for sharing that. Belonging, comfortable to engage and more open and willing to share versus staying to self, not making connections. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. This is one too, I think a lot about like in a and this is, of course, his research was all done specifically for students with disabilities and really looking at that inclusion piece. And so I do often really think about our students with disabilities, maybe who are in special day classes, but go into general ed for portions of the day. And yeah, they might be included, but are they really invited? Are they welcomed? Do people know them? And I think within the disability community, that's a really big piece. When we have students with AAC devices in classrooms, do students actually get to know each other? Are we teaching other students how to use AAC devices so that they can communicate with their peers? Um, and what I mean by that is peers in the classroom. Are we teaching them how to use AAC devices so they can connect with those who need AAC devices? Things like that. So that's also something I think about a lot. Okay, I'm going to send my little warning to everybody. One more room, or one more room, one more minute. Thank you guys so much for your chatting and your connection and all of that. I appreciate it. Andrea, thank you for sharing. Our district has switched our program and students who were in SDC models, who now spend a majority of their time in Gen Ed, feel comfortable to make connections with peers and teachers, feel comfortable to go on field trips, and overall have a sense of belonging that they didn't have before. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Wow. All right, I believe everyone is back. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of your collaboration, and all of that fun stuff. All right, so we're going to dive into some specific strategies for increasing that belonging and community in your classroom. And I know you all have strategies for this already, and I'm sure that some of these strategies we share, you are going to say, oh, we already do that. I would love to hear about it. Please share in the chat if this is something you do. And these might not be new things at all, but hopefully we can share some great resources to help build on this. So some things we really want to highlight, right? Greeting the students at the door. I know this is something a lot of schools, a lot of districts do. There's so much great value in this, in starting the day with looking children in the eye, saying their name, letting them know you are glad to see them today. So powerful. Morning meetings. I know this is something that's becoming more and more popular, and there's lots of different ways to do this. And I should say, I'm going to kind of list some strategies and then share some resources to go along with these as well. But morning meetings, I think they're getting more and more popular, and it's so exciting to see in classrooms, but so much power in a little bit like an inclusive welcome, right? Just checking in, giving students a chance for some voice first thing in the morning. Having classroom jobs for all students. This is one I know we've got lots of classroom jobs happening or lots of classrooms have jobs for their students every day. But it's not often that we see every single student has a job every day. So we're going to talk a little bit about that one. Course, building in that voice and choice throughout the day, such a powerful thing. Oh, spending time to create those classroom agreements together. And then finally, community circles. And we're going to specifically chat with Katie a little bit to hear about her experience with community circles in just a bit. I want to highlight a few resources before we dive into community circles. How many people are using Ed Tomorrow? Does anybody know about the free resources from Ed Tomorrow? I'm going to put them in the chat here. And so Ed Tomorrow has daily morning meeting slides emailed to your email every single day. They're 100% free. So many great things with that. We're going to watch a short 2-minute video that kind of explains each section within the Daily 5 resource that gets emailed to you and just some strategies for how to use it, what to do with it. But please feel free to share this far and wide. It's nothing better than a free resource that you can use daily.
The First 5 is a free daily email for educators that helps you start each day with connection, care, and character. It's quick, simple, and ready by 7 a.m. every morning. Whether you're teaching pre-K or high school, there's a First 5 for you, with 4 daily versions, a searchable database, and support in both English and Spanish. Each day, you get over 20 brand new student-ready activities designed for the first 5 minutes of class. Let's walk through each part of the First 5 and the why behind it. Memes bring humor and relevance. They humanize the moment and help students start with a smile. At the Door gives you simple ways to greet students and build belonging from the moment they arrive. Daily Questions build student voice and classroom connection. Start light and go deeper over time. Quick Connects offers structured opportunities for students to interact, share, and engage quickly. Check-ins give students space to name how they're feeling. It builds emotional awareness and trust. Mindfulness tools like our breathing videos help students calm their bodies and focus their minds. Positivity gives students a moment to notice good things and lift each other up. Our quotes invite reflection and build character one idea at a time. The daily videos are carefully curated to inspire moments of insight, empathy, and deeper thinking. You don't have to do every piece. Just pick one tool each day that works for you and your students. The First 5 is more than a warm-up. It's a daily chance to build community, foster care, and grow character in your classroom. Simple, ready, and always free. Sign up today at edtomorrow.com.
Awesome. So if anyone is not using this yet, I really, really hope that you guys can explore that, check it out. It's really is a great resource. And the thing I love about it is you can spend 2 minutes at the door doing your hand signal of the day or your greeting of the day, or you could spend a full 15 minutes and do a few of them. It's whatever you have time and energy for, but any piece of it is definitely helpful. I want to share another resource as well when it comes to student responsibilities. This idea of having a job for every student in the class every day, the message that it really sends is just, it kind of fills this dimension of belonging, of being needed, right? Our classroom just isn't the same when you're not here. You have a role and a responsibility every day. And when you're not here, we feel it and we miss you and you're needed. And so I think it can seem like a pretty silly thing, but it can be a really powerful tool to have classroom jobs for everyone. We were actually just at a showcase site of ours this week, and I saw this in a 5th grade classroom, and I got really excited, but every student had a job. And And I realize the picture is not super clear, so you can't exactly see what the jobs are. But if you zoom in on the slides, I think you'll be able to see that. And then in the chat, I'm going to throw in a resource. This is a list of different roles and responsibilities you might want to have as classroom jobs. If that was kind of a question that comes up over and over, is like, how do I come up with 25 jobs or 30 jobs or whatever? And so these are just some ideas of different categories for responsibilities in the classroom. And some of them are more fun, special responsibilities, some more like cleaning, some are organizational, lots of different responsibilities, and definitely rotating them for students is a great thing too. So I want to share some of those resources that are also great for fostering belonging and community. But the real focus of our time today is on community circles. Um, I'm so curious to hear in the chat if anybody is currently doing community circles. So feel free to enter in the chat of what you have going on. But community circles are really a structured, inclusive space where all voices are heard. It helps to really build the trust, empathy, and belonging within a classroom community. And as teachers, they can be used very regularly to help connect, reflect, and problem solve as a group. Some people do them weekly, some do them 2, 3 times a week. I mean, it can be done a lot of different ways. But it really promotes that student agency and that shared responsibility for the classroom culture. And so this typically happens with all students and staff sitting in a circle. It could be in chairs, on the floor, whatever works best. And they're really, really less about perfection and much, much more about just creating that connection in the classroom. And it's that practice of really being seen, heard, and valued that builds that classroom belonging. There are lots and lots of ways to do this, to focus your classroom, your community circles. And often they can be a combination of some of these things, but we want to highlight a few things here. So it can be about that connection and belonging. You know, what's one thing that made you smile this week? Gratitude or appreciation rounds, having those shared interests or identity moments. It can also be reflection and learning, reflecting on a class project or a skill that's been learned, discussing challenges or some growth opportunities, can be celebrating effort and progress, can also be about problem solving and collaboration, like addressing those classroom concerns, those conflicts in a really constructive way. That restorative justice piece can be so huge within community circles. Brainstorming solutions together, reinforcing that those community agreements. You know, this can be a great time to come together and just kind of reset expectations. Can also be for goal setting and empowerment, right? Setting those collective goals or even personal goals, checking in on progress. So lots of different ways to do this. So I'm very, very excited to pass this on to Caitlin Nesbitt. Mrs. Nesbitt's class has been implementing community circles her whole school year, but honestly, she's been doing it for years, and I'm going to let her share about that. Katie, thank you so much for being here and for sharing.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Community circles were really large in Napa, so it's not that I created this or anything, but it did work well for my classroom culture and my classroom management. So you have, I don't know what the slide. Oh yeah, so you're on my slide. Okay, so
Yes.
some pictures that were taken today from one of our circles, and I kind of just want to walk you through what a circle looks like in my class. We circle up, and I start with 1, 2, or 3 kind of check in. 1 being you're doing great, 2, okay, 3, something's going on. And so I just mentally note who has a 3 up really quickly so that I can check in with them later when I have opportunity. We review the circle expectations for the first couple weeks, and especially if we have a guest visitor like we had Emily today, we review the circle expectations, and they know those expectations by heart. They know them by heart, which makes it very easy to hold them accountable for those expectations as well. They're on the home base if you wanted to check out my circle expectations, but they're super simple, speak when you have the talking pace, speak from your heart, listen from your heart, don't judge others, say enough, but don't go on and on and on, as all of our students probably will. And I give them I give them 2 warnings before I say, you know what, this isn't a safe place when you're interrupting or when you're doing whatever. So I'm going to ask you to leave my circle of trust and just have a moment for yourself. And then we usually do a circle question, and I linked in some as well. And I like these ones because they can be about certain topics, about exploring some values or talking about your life. Some of them are really shallow, and I like to start with the shallow ones at the beginning of the year. What's your favorite food? Where do you want to go in your life sometime? What does the color blue make you think of? And then as the year progresses and we get more and more comfortable with each other, I move into medium questions or deeper questions as well. And they're willing to share after we've done this quite a few times. I never make anyone share. It's just a safe place to share our experiences and share our feelings and listen to each other and feel included and loved for who we are. Exactly that whole round thing that Emily shared. I do have circles at least 3 times a week, and my consistent ones are what's working, what's not. So students share what we're doing well as a class, and I take notes, and we agree, and we celebrate those. And then we also say, what could we do better at? And I take notes on those. We're not walking in a line well on campus, or we're interrupting each other when we're speaking, or whatever they come up with. And I always agree with them. They know what could be better and what we're doing well, and they're being honest. Then we do vote, and that's going to be our goal for the week. So today we did that, and their goal, what was it? When to sharpen your pencil. So I will be marking, just taking data. Hey, we got out of our seat at the wrong times. This many times it was distracting for those who are working. Let's see if tomorrow we can do less getting out of our seat to sharpen pencils. When are we allowed to sharpen pencils? Let's review that. And then if they're successful, we get like classroom marbles, and they're so excited that they hit their goal. Problem-solving circles are if an issue has come up in our classroom, we'll sit and we'll talk about ways to solve that problem. Pretty straightforward, but they have ownership over what problems come forward and solutions to those problems. And then on Fridays, we always do an Ask, Appreciate, Apologize circle, where students have the opportunity to ask someone a question. It's an opportunity to appreciate others in the classroom. At the beginning of the year, they'll usually start with, "Thanks for being my friend. I appreciate so-and-so for being nice to me." And as we keep doing them, I ask for more specific feedback. So they're now saying, I want to thank Abel for picking me up at recess when I fell, and for sharing a pencil with me, or specific feedback. And then the apology one is very vulnerable for a kid to apologize in front of everyone. But it happens, and it's a beautiful thing. And you see the other person forgive them, and they don't have to share what they're apologizing for if they don't want to, but you see relationships being restored right there, and I love it. And then we always end with a game. I teach 4th grade. We always end with a game, but I always pick a game that is somehow collaborative or community building, or I draw it back to a character trait, like listening to each other, or inclusivity, or whatever game I pick has to have a moral or a theme to it, and we discuss that. So it's fun.
It's so fun. So I did get to go today, which was so fun this morning. I got to watch it, and I so appreciate you letting me be there. But I think that, not to totally interrupt, but it's wild to see how much like your students respect you so much. And it wasn't just in community circle, like they very clearly respect and admire you so much. And you could just see it in the way they interacted with you all morning, even before getting to community circles. And it was definitely like something I noticed immediately, like, wow, they really, it was almost like a reverence to you, right? Like, oh, she's the authority. I respect her. And part of that, I think, is just because of that relationship you've built with them too.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, I guess one of my questions is kind of what do you notice as far as student engagement when it comes to community circles?
Mm. Yeah, so they do seem to listen to each other sometimes more than me. They enjoy having, they don't always get that opportunity to say what they want to say and feel like what they're contributing to the conversation is worthwhile. We do have circle leaders occasionally who run the whole from start to finish question, the question, the game, doing the talking piece, going over the expectations. So they like to be the leader of circle. And they respect that leader sometimes more than they respect me during the circle. And then, yeah, the ones that I do consistently, they know that expectation for that circle. So they're very much engaged and they're ready to go with suggestions. And I I think it really, I think they do enjoy being part of that community right then and there. If I don't do a circle one day, they go, oh, and they look forward to that 15 minutes.
Oh, I like that. We have a question in the chat for you that says, how are the circle leaders selected? Who selects them?
I pull a stick. I pull a
Mm.
stick so everyone gets an opportunity. I keep track on my computer who's been circle leader, and then I'll tell them after everyone's been selected. Okay, now we're on round 2 of circle leader. But I let everyone have a chance, and they're great at it.
That's awesome. So when I joined today, there were a couple things I noticed, and I just kind of want to call them out because I feel like it's one of those things that unless you see it happen and kind of notice the ins and outs, yeah, a couple of things to highlight. Um, Mrs. Nesbitt did a really, really great job modeling those rules of circle time. And so I think we have the rules on the other page. The respect the talking piece, the speak from the heart, listen from the heart, trust that you will know what to say, and say just enough. And what really stood out to me was those were the rules, and there wasn't like nitpicking of other rules or like the boundaries were these are the expectations of circle time. And there's a little talking piece. And so a lot of the students, while they were talking, were kind of throwing it in the air, like fidgeting with it and playing with it. And it was like, that wasn't one of the guidelines. And so, Katie didn't say anything about it. It was just like not a big deal, right?
Mhm.
But your students knew these expectations so clearly. They all kind of she spent time saying, all right, let's, have a reminder of the expectations of circle time, who wants to share. And they took turns sharing. And the thing that really came across that I thought was so interesting was it wasn't, they were not saying verbatim these phrases. They were kind of summarizing it in their own words, which just kind of showed me how much they internalized those guidelines. Like they knew the rules so incredibly well. And a couple of people added others that were kind of maybe similar to this, but not exactly the same. And so it's just like, your sticklers of the group that had something to say. But what I loved about it is just you really did. Um, hold to those firm goals, but you didn't nitpick on little things that weren't very important, right? The other part is, I felt like you also did such a great job of just listening and not reacting to any comments. One of the things that kind of came up, I know like some of the student comments, I was like, oh, I wonder, when they were talking about, some things that were bothering them within the class period, right? And students were kind of sharing things like, um, what was one? Oh, the pencil sharpening one, which ended up being the choice. There was so much agency. These students came up with like 12 different things that could be better in the classroom, and it was so sweet. But one student is like, I've been having headaches lately, and it's because students are getting up to sharpen their pencils at the wrong time, and it's hurting my head because I'm trying to listen. Or it was so cute, but it was just like that was something I could see a teacher maybe making a remark or a comment, particularly if the student sharing that it's a goal maybe needs to work on the goal themselves. But there was just no commentary. It was just very neutral. And I think that neutrality and just that no reaction made it such a safe place for them. So I just wanted to highlight those two things because I felt like that was such a powerful piece. And then, yeah, I know, Katie, you talked a little bit about the impact of those community circles, just as far as it makes your classroom so much stronger. Anything you want to share about that?
They hold each other accountable more because of this. They help each other more because of this. And there's other ways to build community. It's not just do a community circle and everything is going to be sunshine, rainbows, flowers. But I think it does certainly reiterate the fact that we're all in this together. And then it helps me know that we've established a relationship again through this, but also through other things that we all do to establish relationship. And it makes it easier for me to talk to a student about something in private that they need to get better at, or whatever it is. I can offer feedback without it totally ruining our relationship, because we have this consistent practice in my classroom where they know we are all working together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think it was also just clear to see being there. Again, they all kind of trusted each other. The community was really there.
Good.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, which was amazing. So I do want to highlight that we have some resources and strategies and tools that are all located in the home base document. Woohoo! And so these are straight from Miss Nesbitt's class, and I definitely recommend you guys checking them out. And we are going to spend a minute. I think we have enough time. Let's see. Yes. I did want to share one example of what community circles could look like. This is a video of a middle school that actually practices this as a whole school community. So we're going to watch this quick 5-minute little video, and then we'll do our little closing and reflection.
Victor, I love your ability to admit that you want to do better at times, and then how committed you are to doing that. Circles are a time for the community to come together and develop themselves as individuals, develop their relationships, and really address community work. And we actually believe that by doing that, kids will succeed more academically because they feel safe and they're in trusting relationships.
Valor is a middle school based in Nashville, Tennessee. We really value our relationships with each other, and we work really hard to create the school community that we want to be a part of. And so Circle is an important part of that work.
Our Circle model is something that both our adults and our scholars do every week for an hour. Is there more you need to talk about?
Circle happens in single gender groups of about 20 or so students, led by their mentor teacher.
I think that's really impressive. Circle is done in a structured manner. It's very different than the classroom experience that they have at other points during the day. It kind of invites them to be exploring and learning in a different way. Every circle will follow the same basic cadence.
All right, we're gonna start by doing our True North.
It'll always start with what we call True North practice.
Start by taking one silent, deep breath in, and then slowly letting it out.
It's a mindfulness-based practice for everybody in the circle to let go of the busy day and really focus their attention on each other.
We are going to do a weather check-in. Who would like to start us off?
And then it moves into a check-in.
Today I'm feeling foggy because I'm sleepy.
Everybody has to check in, even if it's minimal.
I feel sunny because it's Friday.
Being able to name their emotions, I think it humanizes everybody involved. It really helps us see each other as people who have feelings.
And then we move into what we call work.
I was a little bit frustrated.
So this is the biggest step of the whole relationship work. You need to let Jaron know that you understand why he felt frustrated, okay? Communities need to work together in order to solve problems, and so people have the opportunity to bring work into Circle.
Examples of work are relationship work with your peers or with your teacher, and we might have people take responsibility for something that had an impact on our community. We also do activities like sharing your life story, reflecting on your values.
Sawyer, are you ready to do your presentation?
The topic I investigated was religion.
Scholars really push themselves and put a lot of effort and thought into the work. You see them starting to become more thoughtful about themselves, more self-aware.
This experience helped me learn that I can be kinder to people with differing perspectives.
And then we always end with appreciations.
You always make me laugh.
You always kept trying to get better.
It's a way for the community to appreciate the positive impacts we have on each other.
I like to appreciate you for talking to me over spring break. It's like a mini family. It's a place where you know you're safe. I don't talk about my feelings much, but in Circle I can because I know I can trust them.
I think having the adults do the practice themselves and really know the importance of it is our main strategy.
In through your nose and out through your mouth. Allow your breath to anchor you.
Adults drive this type of work in the community.
Stephen, would you mind kicking us off?
There's some work that I've done with kids in this past week that I need to bring to Circle. In Circle today, I did a process called Taking Responsibility, which is used for repairing a relationship with the community as a whole. You step into the circle and you own whatever action you took. Like, I recognize that my mistake put you in a really uncomfortable position. And I have been at schools where if something were done and not talked about, it kind of festered. Here, and you positively work to rebuild the relationship. Moving forward, I commit to using the systems that are in place and thinking before I act in such a way. I ask kids to do it every day, and I think that's why Valor works. Is because everything the kids are asked to do, the adults are expected to do as well.
It helps a lot because they also know what we're going through. Other schools can say you don't understand to your teachers, but we can't say that because they do the same thing as us and they know what we're going through.
Circle is a space that's safe enough that we can share and we can be vulnerable. It also builds relationships that help us become better teachers, help them become better learners.
You guys did a really good job. Appreciate yourselves for that.
I love that they highlight, I love that they highlight specifically the 1% in achievement and how that's really powerful. But I've always wanted to know what are the statistics when it comes to maybe suspension or expulsion, things like that. I would love to make time for a little question and answer. I know people have been asking in the chat, and I also want to be mindful of time here. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat. And then also, as a quick little wrap up, take a moment to sort of think about today's session and maybe in one word, describe a feeling that you hope students leave your classroom with each day, and one small change that you might consider making in order to increase that feeling for students in your classroom. Just a quick little, excuse me, quick little intentional close. And then also, for the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and put our feedback survey in the chat. This really does help us when it comes to creating our inclusive learning circles and figuring out what people would like more topics on. So we would love your feedback on that as well. We do have a flyer for our upcoming inclusive learning circles as well. And our next topic is going to be AAC and communication partners in December. We really encourage you to follow us on social media as well. That is all located on the home base document as well. And I'm going to go back to our intentional close so that we also can have time for that. We're making time for everything. Oh, Rebecca says hopeful. She wants her students to leave feeling hopeful. I love that. Making personal responsibility part of circles. Fantastic. I love that. Andrea wants them to feel heard by providing choice to support their success and engagement. Oh, I love that. I think heard is a huge one. And that's one. Yeah, that's huge. Love that. Ooh, Maribel says understood. And she wants them to have real responsibilities in the classroom. I love it. Thank you guys so much for sharing that. All right, I promised I would get you out on time. Thank you very, very much for being here today. We appreciate you so much. Oh, I love this, Lori. I'm going to call this one out. She wants her students to feel excited to return and motivated by what's to come. Oh, love that. Yes, that joy in learning. But thank you again all for being here. We look forward to seeing you next month. And again, if you have time to fill out that survey, we very much appreciate it. And I am going to stay on if anyone has questions or wants to chat. I'm available, but I'm trying to really hold to that 4 o'clock for our end time for the masses, if